Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium, numerologist, healer, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there is always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the Psychic Hour, and we are going to be having Michael Zinn on today to talk about intuition, his life, all things. I have a shaky camera. Wow. So welcome, and you get to ask your questions along the way regarding that topic of intuition, of creating one's life, of the mystical in motion. So Michael has his own show. It is holding space on Sacred Spiral Network, and that is Tuesdays. So he is a weekly host at 6 p.m. And also at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then he is double duty over at the Live Stream of Consciousness. He has his own show, the Live Stream of Consciousness, and that is a platform that facilitates more spiritual discussions and metaphysical conversation with different guests as well. So I'll bring him on in just a second. He's a man of many talents, much more than a host. He is a visual producer, a creative intuitive, and just an all-around person that loves to help and explore. Great is a great word from Michael. So let's say hello to a couple people first, and then we'll invite Michael on in. Meet in my shadow. Hello, welcome, Michelle. Good afternoon. Thank you. From Calgary. Hello, Jennifer Rose. Hello, Kira. Welcome, Mel. Welcome, Kim Prince. It's always great to see you. Hello, beautiful Jennifer. Hello, everybody. Hello, Natasha, Charlene, Linda Owen, Lynn Juno. Hello, Lynn Juno. Lots of love to you, Lynn. Rose, great to see you. Hello, Jordan. And a question. Hi, Michael. I trust you're good. Is it ever not a good idea to listen to your intuition? We'll talk about that. That's straight up for discussion. Absolutely. Hello, Grace Grilla. It's always nice to see you, Grace. I'm very happy to join you on your live, as I believe that you are a very genuine. Thank you. We love learning and listening with you, Michelle. Thank you. We love authenticity and genuine nature. We're all on the path to just trying to encourage more of that. We really are. All Katie Creations and Lou. So there's a lot of new people coming on in. So thank you so much. I wanted to give a shout out to everybody here, and we really do have a full house right from the beginning. So without further ado, to join in the party and fun, let's bring in Michael Zinn.
Hello. How's it going? Hello, good to see you.
It's great to see you too. Hello. Let me give you an introduction to everybody who's new to Michael or does know him from his shows. Michael Zinn is a creative professional. Besides being a visual artist, graphic designer, and video producer, he also happens to be a musician and a bass player. It seemed only natural to use the understanding and passion for music, as well as photography and video, to start shooting music videos and music-related content, which eventually led Michael to interests in podcasts and live streaming. Quickly becoming immersed in a world of spirituality and meeting many talented beings of all sorts of metaphysical modalities, it was only a matter of time before Michael was pulled in front of the camera to co-host and participate in conversations that would continue to change and elevate his life as well as audiences. Michael's experience includes working on award-winning feature films and independent short films, as well as live concert broadcasts, celebrity podcasts, and charity fundraisers. Michael's love for working with people to create content quickly became evident and has coached some incredible entrepreneurs on their own journey as he continues to do everything wonderful that he does. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much. I love listening to that intro, and it's not like out of ego. It's just almost out of humility to remind myself, of my own journey and who I am. Like, it sounds really impressive, right? Like award-winning films, and it's not like I'm doing award-winning films all the time. It's a part of I was on set for an award-winning film or a few of them. I did film for a while. I did all of these things along the way. But it's nice to be reminded of who I am and why I'm here. And I noticed as I came on the screen here that my background lights kind of match the color of the universe, kind of coming in the pink and the blue, and it's like it's making me
It's
feel
true. I like it. It's a perfect fit with the composition going on
There's
here.
no coincidences, Kelly.
It just kind of looked nice.
Yeah.
So we went
Yeah.
right. Didn't we don't really have to think about it to make it comprehensive and wonderful and put together. That's intuition. That's divine timing. So it's
Love it.
happening right now. Michael's a rock star. That's right.
Love it. Thank you, Grace. You're a rock star.
Grace is. I agree. Lynn, isn't it cool to be impressed by your own resume?
It so is, and it's not like I said, it's not an ego thing, but it's like, holy shit, I did that. Oh yeah, I did do that. It's like it's very cool.
I agree. We're going to be talking about your journey into just the very many things you do, but I want to acknowledge a question because we are taking questions and it is very relevant. Kira wants to know from your perspective, hi, Michael, I trust you're good. Is it ever not a good idea to listen to your intuition?
I mean, and again, do I have to answer that? I feel like the answer to that, even asking why wouldn't it be good? I feel like, and you know what? I guess let me take it back. Maybe there are moments that you feel like it might be intuition, right? Because it's immediate response. But I think those are the moments where you say, okay, do I need to think a little deeper into this? Is it my intuition or is it my ego, right? Where am I responding from? So yes, I would say no, it's not a good idea to not listen to your intuition, but make sure it's your intuition that you're listening to. Just kind of feel into it that it's your intuition and not your ego, I guess.
So, what moments have you had, Michael, where you found yourself starting to learn the difference?
That's a great question. I love that. I think it was starting to see my reflection in others, like things that I didn't like about myself, and seeing it in others and being like, oh, I'm a little bit like that, starting to make the realization, like that was maybe a part of my own essence that I wasn't aware of. And now that I was aware of it, I could intentionally address it, Um,
Absolutely. Lynn is kind of jumping on the bandwagon with that. What's tricky is sorting out intuition from fears and mental chatter. True intuition is spot on.
yeah, yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I think it's a constant journey. It's like you said, we're learning about ourselves and then we're making certain choices along the way. I
mhm,
know that sometimes I get just echoes of information and I just go, oh, is that a random thought sometimes, or is
mhm,
that what's actually going on? And sometimes I know and sometimes I don't. And then I find
mhm.
out later and I go, whoa, okay, that was intuition. It's it's more and more helpful to connect those dots because
Yep,
it's a heads up.
yep,
It's
absolutely.
so helpful.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
absolutely. So, Michael, I wanted to ask you, and then Michael Christopher is saying hello again.
What's up, Michael? Good to see you, Mike.
Where did you start before you got into the world of metaphysics?
That's a cool question. I would say I definitely started with creativity. I think creativity is definitely, there's a crossover, right? I think creativity is a realm that comes from consciousness that is kind of why we're all here to create. So I definitely come from creativity, right? I can remember, being a kid with my Smurfs. I don't know if people even know remember what those are. These little figurines. I was doing like little stop action animation with my mom's, film motion film camera, just because I was always fascinated with visual creativity and um, just creating stuff in general. Again, you said in the intro, you talked about how I'm a musician as well. That's like just another outlet where I feel like creativity is a good way to plug in and get into the flow state. You know what I mean? So I think creativity does have a crossover with spirituality. I just didn't know it till years later.
Absolutely, they're so interconnected. Even people who
I don't. I make shapes
so
by
great.
accident. Yeah, with my hands, I make shapes and.
I love when that happens. Some of the most intuitive people or fast acting people are really coming from that surge of creativity within. Like it's really the trifecta. Like for me, like if you're creative but don't consider yourself intuitive, you probably are. If you're intuitive but don't consider yourself creative, you probably are. If you
Right.
are dynamic in motion but don't consider yourself either one of the two, you probably still are. They just all work hand in hand. You can't take one away from the other.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's part of also, once I started to explore spirituality a little bit, it kind of came full circle to like, oh, the idea of being here to create, right? To create whatever it might be, to emanate love or to emanate whatever it is you're emanating. You're creating. You are a creator, right? And I think it totally just came full circle, for me.
Absolutely. Grandma Jules is saying hello with the
What's
heart.
up,
We have
Jules? Good to see you. Amazing.
hey, Crystal Lee, hello.
Hello,
And
hello.
then we have another, if I may ask, since it came back to intuition right away, there's
Mhm,
another question on that for you.
mhm.
What's your advice on hearing your intuition when triggered by insecurities, please?
Ooh, ooh. That's a good one. I like that question. I feel like a good question to ask, and this is something that happened just on the broadcast before, right? We had like this troll come into the situation, and not to give it any energy other than it was a good moment for me to be like, okay, what is that energy? Who owns it, right? Like, where's it coming from? So triggered by insecurities. I mean, again, I think that is yourself, right? But where are those insecurities coming from, and why? I think as human beings, it's difficult to navigate a lot of these things, emotions and thoughts, right? Because our brain is what's in control of what we're doing. But I think as we learn to kind of control our brain, or I don't even want to say control, but as we start to be more aware of our brain and how it works, then we can start to be intentional with how we're using it, right? And a lot of times, like, people talk about depression, like, and then there's this big argument like, well, is it a choice, or is it like an affliction? Like, is it an actual condition? And I think there's a lot of variables that go into it, right? I am no medical professional. This is not medical professional advice, but I do think that there's a lot of power to thought and intention. And there are studies that back this up, right? As far as like, the positive studies, Dr. Emoto on water, and just the idea of positive intention and how that's a vibration that physically can affect things and in provably. Provably, I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, there's like verifiable studies where the way that we act, it changes our brain, our perception, and more and more do we see that
Yep.
scientifically. It's popping up everywhere. I yes, there's a case to be made. I One of my favorite ways to use my intuition when I have a lot of energy coming up, because I like, regardless is if we're looking at our insecurities, we carry so much stuff every day. And then if it grabs our attention, it's like triggering us for good things or bad things, like, oh gosh, I know this energy, or oh, that really caught my attention, right? So I have to like stop for a moment with what I notice. I like to acknowledge what I'm feeling, and I'll
Mhm.
be like, I feel like this today, or I know that this is in my awareness, or I have a backache, or my ankle's feeling weird, or I feel really unfocused today. So I just list it out loud,
Mhm.
and then I just see what keeps coming my way. I'm just like, I acknowledged all my stuff. So
Mhm.
if I'm getting other stuff, um, wow, I can start to separate it and feel it's quite different. But I
Mhm.
have to acknowledge my own, whether it be insecurities or stuff
Right.
first before I'm able to do that clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I think a big thing for me and the way I look at the world and people and why I'm even in this spot of like why do I care? Why do I want to help people? Because I feel like there's so much stuff external, and I think that growing up, the system does not really show us to go internal, right? And to really know what we have inside. And so we're always looking for something from the outside to get us to be somewhere or for that happiness. And I think, hopefully a shift in, awareness of that and teaching, kids, right, of self-awareness and self-love and self-worth. That's what I think we need to start doing to really change how people are. It starts pretty young. And there's layers of it, but I think you've done something really amazing, Kelly, and little moment to shout out to you, is to gather this vibration, right? Put out this vibration and as a beacon to all of the amazing people that are watching us right now, listening to us talk, and just and receiving it, right? It's not like they're like, what is it? What's going on? Or they're like, I don't need to listen to this. I'm just going to go about my day. It's it's a vibration that feels good enough to somebody who passing by on social media is like, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to hang out and I'm going to listen to this and I'm going to feel this. So, kudos to all of you guys, Jennifer and Jules and Kerry and Grace, for just coming by with that intention of, I want to be here. I want to be in the company of this energy.
Yes.
It's just phenomenal. And again, kudos to you and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it, right? Like I have my own part of it, right? Like and I've brought a lot of people over to this because this energy matched a lot of the energy that I was around, Grace Grella and Brian. Like it was just like an unspoken, magnet of like, okay, this belongs together, you know.
Yeah, no, I have to say a huge thank you to you, because you knew people as well as yourself, Michael. You were operating from a similar place, and exactly what you said, everything just merged. And I met wonderful people additionally
Yeah.
because of you. You were another catalyst in all this. Um, I am honored that people feel so good around these discussions and these shows
Yeah.
and find something that they need too. The reason why it's even here in the first place is because, like, when I was growing up, or whether I knew 100% I wanted to be on this path as, a psychic medium, a numerologist. While I did know that at times, other times I didn't. And I would come to spaces like this, whether there were a conference or a spiritual online radio, um, or just books. I would try to cultivate this because it was the only way I actually felt normal most times. And
Mhm.
in a lot of spaces, you know, we don't have this, even
Mhm.
if it's a positive place. So, like in the music community, if I may ask, like, because your um, your wheelhouse of how you started a lot of your work, it was within producing and visual design and music.
Mhm.
Like, did you find that even though some of those people are dreamers and they're creatives and they're even mystical and I'm sure metaphysical,
Mhm.
did you see that present within the community at all? Like the encouragement or the, soul acknowledgement or the
Yeah,
healing.
I would say, certainly yes. I don't think I was, like I said, I don't think I was aware of it as much when I was younger. But one of the great things of awareness, I think, is you can look back at yourself, right, and be like, oh, this is what was happening, even though I wasn't aware of it, right? So when I was playing in bands, right, I had no idea what channeling even was, but that was channeling. That was flow state. I had no idea what flow state was. That was flow state, and I can think back and I can remember what it was like, and I remember articulating it, right, like, to my mom and to different people, like, what it was I liked about music. I would describe it like, "Oh, it's like a conversation or like a dance when you're playing music with a band," right? You got 4 people together all in this moment, kind of in this song or whatever it might be, together, right, like connected, and it's just so incredible. And so I always knew that I loved it. I loved that feeling. I just didn't really know what it was and how deep it went, to source and bigger things than even that, right? Because I think I struggled for a while with organized religion, right? And I struggled with excuse me, I struggled with words like God, but not in like a rebel way, right? The things that I struggled about was I knew what God was, but the word God on earth and in religion has become so personified. The idea of God as a person, like, it was so strange to me, and it just felt so wrong that, it kind of pushed me away from that stuff. But then when I was able to make peace with that in my own head, what God was, and like replace it with the word universe, and kind of until I could say out loud, no, God is the universe. The universe is God. Everything is God. God is love. These things that I couldn't say before with authenticity, I can say with authenticity now. I believe those things, and I kind of empowered myself, away from organized religion, which took over the power of words like God, right? I re-empowered myself with my own relationship with what God was, and here I am now, in a much better place because of it, I think.
Before you had, contentment or congruence with that, what moments made you feel like you were you or grounded or whatever word you want to use? Like, so for me, it was sometimes listening to like metaphysical interviews
Mhm, mhm,
or reading self-help books
mhm,
or,
mhm.
spiritual classes. But was it brought out within you like with jam sessions or what
Yeah,
other
I was
things?
gonna say, I think, yes, I think when I was creating, whatever it might be, music or art, like, again, there are pieces that I did, like, in college that, like, I don't know where they came from, right? They came out of me, and I was really into them, and then I look back and I'm like, "Where did that come from?" Like, that there's a lot of meaning to that, right? And even when I was in college, I kinda remember doing a piece, that I don't know what inspired it. We were learning how to make coils, and I was just this piece came out, and then after I was, like, a good way into it, halfway or more than halfway into it, meaning started to come out of the piece. I was like, "Oh my god, this piece represents myself and all of the different choices that I've made in life," because it was all these coils all going in all different directions, and then carrying these choices that I made as a part of who I am, right? It was like really deep, and I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Where did that come from? Like it was just really, really cool stuff.
You
So
remember, like, if I may ask, do you remember? Because I'll look at some stuff and I'm like, where did this come from? But this is like very pertinent. And I will remember vaguely, like, when I wrote it, like, if it's a thing or, the time and the place, and I'll be like, "I remember I, like, sat down and I really wanted to focus on this and that," or I really gave myself a lot of time because, this needed to come out, like, for me. I made sure I held space for myself. I
Mhm,
didn't know what
mhm,
it
mhm,
was,
mhm, mhm.
but I just was there, and
Yeah.
so with some of those pieces that you're describing, do you remember, like, you gave yourself an abundant amount of time, or how or was it, like, spontaneous? Like, how did it
I don't I guess I just remember feeling like, okay, this piece is happening, and I felt like it kept me engaged, right? I was like, okay, I want to continue this. I was really easily distracted, like I didn't like to spend too much time doing stuff. And so I knew that when that was happening, right, like there was a significance to it. And so yeah, uh, I think it just happens, and it's hard to describe the feeling, right? When you're creating something and you're just like, all right, I'm doing it, but that is the flow state, right? Like losing all semblance of time and space, right? And being in the moment. That is the flow state. That's that feeling that I think we're talking about. And then that brings it all back to intention, right? So like any good artist or somebody who's really good at something, they got there through intention, whatever it was. Somebody who's doing painting, like some people are like, oh, this is too hard, it takes too long. And other people are like, oh, I get it. And they get into this flow state, and they just do it and repeatedly do it because there's something about being in that flow state that they like, and they get closer and closer to their soul and their authentic being, which again is creativity is as a concept. I think creativity is part of source.
I think there's so many, like, different flow states, and it's really, awesome to feel when they, enact.
Hmm.
Sometimes we can call them out, like, when I'm in meditation, I go into this place, or, like, when I start writing or, playing an instrument or singing, we know how to get there. Like, even when just, like, doing sacred spiral stuff, because there's, like, a lot of tasks, I I will sometimes I have to push myself or sometimes it's automatic. I'll just drop into a flow state and I'll
Yeah.
go, this needs to get done. So I'll continue to visualize a banner, or I'll continue to visualize what
Hmm.
it's going to look like when it's done. And I'm just like, it's
Hmm.
like, I just got to keep going because I'm one move away from it being done. I'm two moves away from it being done. Or usually I go like 3, 2, 1, more so like that.
Right, right, right.
And it just keeps me like, it's like, it doesn't matter anything else. It just, right, it brings me over that hill of
Yeah.
resistance, um, if there's something else in place. And I have many other different types of flow states where I go, I'm pulling not just from my own emotions, thoughts, or, it's weird because it's like you're very present, but it's almost like you're not completely working with the present. You're like bringing
Right.
in the future as you're in the present. I don't know if you've ever felt that, or
Sure.
like,
Yeah, of
have you
course.
brought,
Yeah, yeah.
like, how, like, because we're all so different with how we manifest, so it's like,
Yeah.
what other aspects have you found being, like, pushed in or, like, been pulling you forward when you're in certain states where you're like, "Oh, I'm here, and this is helping me," or, "Now I'm a part of this. Whoa, it's not just me."
All of it. I mean, I think all of it.
Yeah,
It's just, again, it's just kind of being aware of it. Awareness is such an interesting thing because I think it's like a snowball effect. When you become aware of something, you can't become unaware of it once you're aware of it, right? And then it's like the awareness of one thing opens up the awareness of another thing, and it's a snowball effect that way. So, I feel like for me, especially like I was saying earlier, this last year, um, and my experience I had in Costa Rica, where I was like, I'm creating my own reality. Like it's happening. Like different aspects of that idea are happening, right? Different opportunities are presenting themselves. You know, I've, again, not out of like ego or anything, but like I think I've been a guest now on like 4 or 5 shows in the past couple of weeks. And that's
Wow.
again because of my intention of doing my own show and doing what I do has kind of put me in this place, and it's put me in this vibration now that I think I'm in this awareness level. Other people are aware of me now, and like, okay, they're interested in whatever frequency I'm sending and receiving, and tune to, which again is, that's actually literally a part of what I'm doing, right? What I'm doing is all about energy and the awareness of energy and frequency and the intention of being at a certain frequency. So it's all just like, it's just building on itself. It's just a really amazing moment, I think, for me. I think humanity, it's an amazing moment for humanity, but for me to feel like my own place in that moment too is how ah,
I believe
it's
what you're saying. Like I
it,
just yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be saying out loud what I'm saying, because I know in this moment there are a lot of people who are confused as hell. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go, what to believe. I was feeling that, and I still do feel that. Like when I kind of get out of my own bubble, like, and I have to wander into the collective, there's a lot of things going on that I'm like, I don't know, is this true? I don't know. There's a lot of fear and anger energy that I have to navigate, right? It's there, and I can try to run away from it, but it's like part of my world. I need to navigate it if I want that to be part of my world, or decide that I don't want that to be part of my world. So, I mean, I feel like my mind's going a million miles a minute, right? Like right this second, like everything that you hear coming out of me is where I'm at, but it's so attached to being in the moment, you know.
It is. I think that you kind of said something just a moment ago that was interesting and I think helpful to a lot of people. You were talking about you're creating these moments and you're just more and more happening with these moments and then more and more is happening in your real life. Because it's just your intention is just jumping outward and at first you had the intention but you're like I don't know what to do with this and I don't know if this is even working, but the more and more you did it, the more it is working and
Mhm.
it's the dots are connecting and I feel like that too. My flow states in certain areas, they just get stronger and stronger and I go, "Oh, I get why
Mhm.
I maybe was like this in the past and it didn't work out."
Mhm.
Or now I really get when things work for me, like I really can dig into this part of myself and work from that part of it. It's just people have to keep going because I think like uh the sign that it's hard means it's just something that has to be connected. You have a circuit
Mhm.
that really wants to be connected and it's going like "Bzzz," and it's
Mhm.
just like we don't have what we need
Yeah.
and it really stinks when we don't have what we need, but when we
Yeah.
kind of get in all the mess, we go, "Oh, that lines up with that." And
Yeah.
suddenly all those weird feelings and thoughts, they were
Makes sense.
totally relevant.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
would not have known at all until it clicked.
Absolutely. And I just thought of something really related to what Kim Princess was just saying there, about not knowing where you're going, right?
Yeah.
And that was in response to what I said, right? Like there's all of this kind of fear and anger and this energy out there that it's hard to, it's a lot of noise, and it's hard to know where you're going, right? So in response to that, I want to say that this infinity goes both ways, right? So I can say, okay, where do I go? What am I supposed to do? And I could start looking this way, outside of myself in every direction, or I can also look inside of myself. And I think that that's where you're going to find the root to even be able to decipher what's going on outside of yourself and what it means. I think what's going on inside of yourself is so much more important, and there's so much more truth there, and ground, to stand on, before you even start thinking about, okay, this is what's going on outside, and yeah, I've got to deal with it. It's going on. It's part of the collective, but not to let that be what's affecting you so much, and really go from inside. So Kim, specifically with you, right? Amazing what happened with Kim in the past couple of weeks, right? She reached out to me, was a guest on my show. Now she's been on a couple of shows. Like, she's really coming into her own energy and really discovering herself, and how to even navigate that and create your own reality, right? That's my campaign for 2026. Create your own reality. you know
And understand that when we even don't think we are, we are. We're
yeah,
we're choosing our own adventure with every decision we make,
that's right.
even if we're not completely conscious of it. We get more conscious eventually. We go, "Oh yeah, I did that," or "Yeah, oh gosh, I did that. Holy cow, I actually did that." Um,
Yep.
I want to just acknowledge Lynn's question up top. She made
Okay.
a comment with a question. A lot of creative work is channeled, I believe. Would you agree that people creating art, music, and even acting are operating in altered states?
I would say, first of all, I would say all creative work is channeled, and not just some. So I agree with the first statement. And altered state, I'm not really sure what that, flow state, Zen state, altered state. Yes, I would say when you are creating, you are letting everything outside of you go. You're connecting to the moment. You're connecting to source, and whatever you are creating is what's coming through, right, from source. And it also, it represents what you love. It represents what you love. I think that's kind of what just came through, as because it comes through differently for everybody. If you think about it, Kelly, like flow state, right? You probably, everybody knows somebody who is in the flow state when they're in the kitchen cooking,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's just a different way that people, I think, connect with source. I think whatever you do that you love, massage therapy, if you love massage therapy, you're in flow state when you're giving massages. If you're a dancer, you're in flow state when you're dancing. It's not just drawing, and painting and playing music. I think those are kind of what we think of when we think of creative, like, oh, that's, you're an artist, right? But a cook is an artist. A massage therapist is an artist. I think, it's and I love what I'm saying, because I'm like, wow, look at the way this guy looks at the world, right? and I love the way that I look at the world. It allows me to really enjoy it so much more, you know.
It, yeah, and I appreciate your descriptions because it's creating, visuals and thoughts within me. And we're all so different, but I know that I can get into flow states, but sometimes if, I'm extra tired, wherever our weakness creeps up in our body, we could be really emotional, we could not be taking care of ourselves, we could be dealing with something
Yep.
external or internal, whatever. But I notice that I'll be able to drop into flow state, but then I'm not able to go as deep if I don't take care of my things
Mhm.
or if there's too much stuff going on.
Sure, sure,
Like,
sure.
I love cooking and I go into flow states like cooking, but if
Mhm.
I'm a little tired, I'll be in my flow state and I'll go, but I will maybe, I used to be notorious if I was tired for maybe nicking myself with a knife, or I put something in the oven and all of a sudden
Right, right.
you know what I mean? A little,
Totally.
and
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I was off
totally,
just by a little bit and I was just going
totally.
in, and normally not even a problem.
Right.
So sometimes we're like, why didn't that work? Or I wouldn't beat myself up for a little burn or something, but it's metaphorical.
Right.
It's not that we're not what we love or in the moment, like Michael kind of personified of when we're in flow state, like we're in this I am presence. It's just, um, the humanness is still seeping in, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But we're learning more and more how to
Yeah.
go. how can I get back to this state even stronger? And then also take care of myself before and after and during
Right.
this potential.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think something interesting is as an empath, right, you start to actually be able to recognize that even in others, right? So it just came to me like I was trying to give examples of flow states for different people, cooking and dancing and this and that. What about an animal trainer, right? Somebody
Yeah.
who's
Oh,
an
yeah.
animal trainer. When you see an animal trainer that is doing that because they totally love it, or at least I do as an empath, right? Like I know that that person is in a flow state doing what they're doing because of the interaction that I'm watching, the energy that's happening in that flow state. You can see that when you watch a dancer who's in flow state. I was no sweat to David Duchovny. I like David Duchovny. I think he's a great actor, but I just saw some series. It was like, ancient aliens, and it was like a documentary, right? And he's narrating it, and he looks so unhappy, like he does not want to be there. Like he's just like blah, he's just doing his thing. But because he's an actor, and he just couldn't get into his flow state in that
It's
thing. It was just, it was,
yeah.
you know,
It's like you're right. It's like autopilot is kind of like flow state, but if there's enough going on, we can't get there
right,
completely. And we go, I've been doing this all my life, or usually this works. Why isn't it working?
right.
And it seems like David and even me, on this show, I love this show, but there's been a couple times where I'm like, wow, I look really tired. So like I'm sure other people are seeing that too. It interrupts our flow state. And I was just even thinking when you brought up animal trainer, like before, I didn't even bring up an example. So I love that it kind of was in the live stream of consciousness that we're sharing. My animals, I'm always like kind of teaching them or working with them, and they're teaching me too.
Mhm.
And if I'm like tired, I'll ask them like, hey, can you please do something? Or I'll try to like talk with them or share energy and be
Yeah,
like, hey, it's this and that, or it's okay, or don't be afraid of this, whatever
right,
the
right.
conversation is. And they'll just be like, eh. But if I'm like really grounded and well rested, they'll actually work with me and they'll be like, okay. Or the animal training works and the human
Yeah,
training works too
yeah,
on their part.
totally, totally. Energy, right? It's just all different aspects of energy and how it manifests and how we can sense it and see it and express it and feel it. And something that came up, not to just like start going off on tangents, but
No,
something that came
please.
up recently was horses in the use of like PTSD
Oh yeah.
therapy and stuff, and I've been around that, and it's all about energy, and it's crazy how sensitive horses are to human energy, and what that's what the training is, right? It's like they use that as a method to teach you about your own energy and to be aware of your own energy when you're around the horse and how it responds to you. And you say, see how it responds to you when you're calm, see how it responds to you when you're nervous. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing to watch that stuff. I don't know why I just thought of that, but
Horses are incredible, so I'm a-okay with that, addition, absolutely. Grandma Jules, is asking, does that include downloaded information? It does for me. If you'd like to answer first, Michael, or I can, however you want.
what does I guess I lost the question. Does what include downloaded information? Flow state?
Like being able to access flow state. Yeah, all of a sudden you get a download, you're like, oh, that's a great idea, or you get like an
Yeah.
aha moment. And I know that again, if I'm more grounded and in alignment, um, I hold on to that download very like an anchor. I go,
Yeah.
great, I needed to know
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna use it right away. I'll like, archive it or actively just do
Yeah.
whatever the download is. If I'm a little out of sorts and um and it's funny we're talking about it this way because a lot of people think flow state is creativity. I think flow state is just taking care of your body too
That
and
absolutely.
being more in alignment with yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's many different things. And I'll get downloads and I'll go, crap. I'm like, because I'll be driving, I'll be like, crap, I'm really tired today. I'm gonna forget that in 2 minutes. And I don't have a pen to write it down because I'm
Right.
driving.
Right.
But if I'm, more with it, I'll be like, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll remember that 5 hours from now. I got it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Interesting. And as far as downloaded information, like I've been actually getting a lot of ideas, and my brain is like really active at night when I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'll come up with some ideas, and now I'll use my intention, right, to say get up out of bed and just write it down, right? Write down 2 or 3 words, that will remind you of what you're thinking about right now, because I absolutely will forget it. I have so many great ideas, and since I've started doing that, there's definitely an improvement in my psyche, in my mentality, in my self-love, right? Respecting myself and being happier about doing that. So something that is kind of cool, that I've been working on lately is, well, you know what? Let's get into that later. Let's not even go.
no, I think well, you can go wherever you want to go, but I just want to acknowledge you with that because I think that's really powerful. Because, right, when I was first getting into this work, I used to, or developing even, I used to dream a lot or try to play around with like what can I remember or what can I understand. So there would be a lot of note taking, even if I was meditating or with dreaming, like you just said, like I'll write down a word here or there, and
Mhm,
it will take me back to that place. And
mhm,
I actually think that's another thing extremely powerful because as we're talking about this conversation, like a part of us was online when we got that download or we were
mhm,
in that state and we were like, wow, what was that?
mhm,
That was so helpful. And
mhm.
it's an invitation. I don't know if it's like that to be that 20, like to be 24/7 like that,
Right,
but
right, right, right.
I actually think we're training, like, it's almost like a part of ourselves that we can't fully access is training ourselves to like, go this way. It feels like this.
Right,
Use it like this. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, and
right.
we become, like you said, happier, more conscious.
Yeah.
We have to learn those breadcrumbs for
Yeah,
ourselves,
yeah, yeah.
and it's almost like I might argue that we could be more of that 24/7 because we learned how to access that part of our spirit, our aura, our brain, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It's very intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, again, it's a combination of so many things that we're talking about, right? Like,
Yeah.
something comes in my head and I'm like, I recognize that there's a reason I thought of it. I'm like, okay, I thought of that for a reason. Okay, cool. I'll remember tomorrow. No, I won't remember tomorrow. Let me get up and write it intentionally. And that, again, I think even that intention, right? That's energy. I spent the energy to get up out of bed and write it down. I put energy into the thought. And that's
Yes.
another step of manifesting it closer to becoming reality.
Absolutely. You just like you net it. You're
Yeah,
like, this
I
is a
met it.
part of me. I
Exactly.
don't
That's a
want
good
to
way to
miss
put it.
this.
Yeah, that's a good way
Yeah.
to put it. Yeah.
Uh, Grandma Jules, I feel I am in a flow state when I'm doing my
Oh, that's
philanthropy
awesome.
work. Yeah, it is. I mean, good. Shout out to you, Grandma Jules. Angels among us for sure as a flow state or reach in a hot oven now, even.
I gotta give another extra shout out to Angel Grandma Jules, and her Angels Among Us, and her baking business, Grandma Jules. The things that she sent me were just so delicious. She sent me so much baking and like even a jar of like brownie mix that she had put together. Um, it's incredible how I can feel the love coming out of the stuff that she sent because she put so much freaking love into it. Um, and you know what? It's also a blessing to just even be in that state of awareness, right? Where it's like, oh my God, somebody made this for me out of their heart and out of their love, and to get it and to feel that, right? To just be like, not just be like, oh, cool, I got something and now I've got some stuff, right? Or it's not an ego thing; it's a total vibrational thing. So thank you again, Jules, for your
Go
amazing
Grandma
package.
Jules. Go Grandma Jules. She's talking about sticking her
I don't
hand
have
into
a
the
business.
oven without
You
mitts
know what?
too.
See, now she's saying I don't have a business, but everything that she sent me, I should go get it. Had a wrapper on it with a little sticker that said Grandma Jules, like it looks like. So that's just evidence of the love that she put into making it for me. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God.
That sounds
Really?
pretty official and professional.
Again, it's I can't even put into words. It's just, you know, I don't think I've ever gotten something physical, right, that had so much vibration to it. Like seriously, like it's just there's so much vibration to these packages that are sitting on my shelf in the kitchen right now. All of the stuff that she sent, it's phenomenal.
She's saying
Yeah.
it's strictly the lamp. Why can't I say the lamp? I can't say it right now.
Philanthropy. Yes. So she
Philanthropy.
basically it's all donation. She basically donates all of her time, and that's amazing.
I can't say that one word for whatever reason, but it's like, Jules, like whether you want an official non-for-profit or official whatever, I mean, you're given love, and that's
Amazing.
I mean, it has a lot of precision. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty business-like sounding to me.
Intention. It's got all the right ingredients, contextually, mentally, spiritually, and physically, all the right ingredients.
It does. So yeah, you might not right be a
Yeah.
F1C3
And
exactly.
this by the way, this is sitting right next to me. This was in the package as well. This little
That's so cool.
squishmallow, so soft and adorable, and looks just like my cat Max. It's like it's
I
so
was gonna
amazing.
ask.
Karen, you said it. And not only did I impact Grandma Jules in such a way, she impacted me right back. It was such an immediate reflection, and that is such a validation of everything that all of us are doing here in this moment. It just really is.
I agree. I absolutely agree. It's pretty darn special. Hello, Kathleen. Hello, Rhonda. Just people coming on in. Hello. Um, gosh, is there something I wanted to bring up? Was Michelle? Uh, yeah. We're just people are acknowledging. People are acknowledging, and Evelyn, Michelle's talking about painting, drawing. Evelyn is too. Just getting inspired and lost. And like Kim was talking about earlier, like that comment really stood out to me to put this all together.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to find her comment up top if I can. It's somewhere. But she was basically talking about being like lost. And there it is. Sometimes I don't know where I'm going.
Mhm.
And I think, and I hope you're around Kim because Kim's a tarot reader. She's an intuitive. And like with reading, just as a metaphor, like you have to be completely okay with not knowing where you're going because you just literally flip over the card and the card tells you where you're going. And then you flip over more cards and it tells you collectively where you're going, and you have no idea before you shuffle that deck, before you lay down that card. And it's the same with life, and not everybody lives life like that. But when you're intuitive, you start to surrender to knowing there's something coming to my way, whether my higher self maybe in the flow state of saying, hey, do more of this, or other spirit frequencies or universal frequencies giving you intelligent information saying this or that.
Yeah.
Be okay with being lost. Be okay with it. And usually when you are, the opposite happens, I find too. You find something, right? When you're okay, right when you make peace with it, all of a sudden you find this and you find that. But I would embrace it like reading a deck with that metaphor. Anyway, so Michael, where do you want to go next? Whether it's a comment. Yeah. Well, we came from a background of music and production, and then you just started doing more and more work and meeting people along the way and finding yourself with different experiences. When did you start to actually go, okay, like my life is going to be about now this soulful metaphysical side, like the experiences you said where,
Mhm.
you know, that word God, I didn't know what it meant, and then all of a sudden I have an experience and now it means something completely different to me, and I am embodying some of these things that I was just exploring before.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm not really sure where to pinpoint it. However, I can say, and I know it sounds kind of cliche, that I definitely noticed a shift in things when I started to meditate. Um, a friend of mine who I was working with was he is a musician, an amazing saxophone player for a band out here on the East Coast called That 70s Band. It's like a 7-piece, 8-piece band. They do like all disco music. He's a saxophone player. We started working together. He was doing music events, like producing music events. So I was like helping him make flyers and promotional things and video promotions for concerts and stuff like that. And I guess he took a class like to learn how to become a hypnotist, right? Hypnotherapy. And in doing that, he started to get into meditation and started to like offer guided meditation classes. And start and oh, you know what, even before that, sorry, I'm just remembering the story as we speak. So he partnered up with this woman who now, instead of doing musical events, they were also doing spiritual events. So they found a place to host like a weekly or bi-weekly event. They would have a speaker come, a channeler, a psychic medium, like all different metaphysical modalities. And so because I was friends with him, I started to go to those, and it was just immediate. I resonated immediately with like all of it. All of the channelers and psychic mediums all felt to me like they came from the same vibration, even though they were different modalities. Um, and it was just making friends with those people. I became really good friends with a guy named Christopher Allen, who is an amazing, amazing psychic medium. There was a cruise that was like a bunch of psychic events, and you go on this cruise, and I ended up being a single rooming with him. And I guess the connection that I made with him then was amazing, but something about him, I was like, you should have a show. You should be a personality for psychic mediumship because you make it so easy to accept, right? Like I was a skeptic, and he made it so easy to accept. And then there were so many experiences with being at his readings that I just couldn't deny, like, where is this coming from? Excuse me. So it one, I guess the first thing was just opening my mind, right? And like, even though I was a skeptic, I was still open. And that was one. And then at that point, I said, you should have a show. And then, like a year later, that manifested in, I found a studio, and I said, hey, what do you think about this place? And he wanted to do live broadcast because psychic mediumship can be questioned, right? And if there was editing, if it was like an edited show, he's like, no, I want to do this live. So we started doing these live group readings at the studio, and it was just I loved it. Was every time it would, like, I would break down in tears, and I'm doing camera, producing the show, and I'm like just having an emotional connection to it all. And then COVID hit, so we had to kind of stop doing that. But that's what really started it. And Kelly, even a connection there to you and me connecting was my idea of Channel Zen, which I spoke to you about, which was exactly what the Sacred Spiral Network is. It's a network of shows that feature different modalities, that someone who, oh, I watched this psychic medium on Sacred Spiral Network, but wait, this channeler came on and I never knew anything about channeling, and now they're exposed to this other modality, and other connection with energy. And I think that's the big thing for me, is like everybody's connection with source is unique. Everybody expresses it in their own unique way. And like, I find so much beauty and glory in that's what the Sacred Spiral Network is also. It celebrates our unique differences and our unique connections to source and how we express it. Lynn Junot being a perfect example of such a unique way to express, her connection with energy and read people,
I agree. I think we're all connected, and when somebody lives from their authenticity and their soul, we go, "Oh yeah, that's right."
Mhm.
But in order for us to help other people do that, and especially for us to get, to that point with ourselves, we can't go, "Oh, that's what intuition looks like. That's what
Right.
God looks like. That's what, the answer, the truth looks like." I think it's important to have those moments shared, like, with societal understanding of what truth is and what science is. I think that's, like, very, very important, but you have to have it click inside of you, and then if you are able to then express how it clicked inside of you, people start going, "Oh, yeah, it is like this. It
Yeah.
is like that." And you're reminding me of myself, even though their truth, or how they express the truth, I want to say more specifically, is going to be a slight bit just their own unique frequency. So I don't like all the shows to look the same.
Right.
Not like if they happen to have, be similar, then so be it. But
Right.
like, I want people to have, and we've had these discussions before, and I think I've maybe tried to like really, really have a space for it strongly, but I want to give people all this creative room to just feel like this is my show, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I get to tell my story, or I get to discover who I am. I want to like help for them to feel
Yeah.
that, as other people get to experience
Totally.
that from a different end when they're the audience.
Totally. Totally. And one of
Yeah.
the things I love too, like what's the show? I forget the name, with the realms, with Shannon
Inner
and
Oh, yeah, Messages from the Enchanted Realms.
Messages from Enchanted Realms. Like, so that show to me is such a great representation, because I still even like that show. To me, I'm like, okay, I haven't seen a unicorn or a dragon, but like I know that it's coming from an authentic place, right? So it's like I'm like it interests me in the idea of those as realms, right? Like that only came into kind of my awareness in the last couple of years. Like, okay, there's angels realms, and there's ETs, and there's these certain realms that I was aware of that interested me, but I wasn't interested in those because to me they were fantasy, right? But then when I got kind of like a download telling me like, well, imagination is reality, then all of a sudden those things became legit, right? Like that is
Jennifer
imagination.
Rose's comment personifies that.
Yeah. That is imagination, is that, is dragons and fairies and unicorn extent, right? Like to just be like, okay, anything goes. And there's a part of me that knows that, like, that any thought that anybody has ever had in their head is a realm. A thought becomes a thing, right? So it exists in some form or other, in etherically.
I do think so. I think that sometimes energy does change, and then we find ourselves learning more about what it actually is.
Yeah.
But the authenticity is basically saying, I'm in touch with something, and it's kind of like this for me. And then that story can change, and sometimes it could be pure, powerful. I happen to find, this representation, and you go, wow, let's learn about that.
Yes. Yes. And that
I
and go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, just a quick story that comes to mind is, there's a teacher that I had, and she's very talented. She's a very talented medium, and she used to talk to her guide, and she had a very strong relationship with her guide,
Mhm.
and he would tell her to watch out for things like, meditate, whatever.
Mhm.
It's She had this side built up, and then and she always called him a certain name. And then one day he said, "Well, my name's not that. My name's actually this." And she's like, "I've been calling you this for like 7 years. And now you tell me?" And he's like, "Well, you never really, it just seemed you needed me, and so I came when you called me, and now that we just happened to have this moment, I'm telling you what my name is." And she's like, "What the heck?"
That's great. That's
So
so great. Yeah.
sometimes we don't even know when we're with the energy, but my gosh, it gets the job done.
Yeah.
But I do think it is. How can I put this, Michael? I do think that what we know about like the angelic realm or these other fantasy realms, we'd probably be surprised maybe what is real. I'm still learning about it too.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people have
Absolutely.
seen fairies. I've never seen a fairy.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
have seen
But I
fairies.
think a part of that, it goes back to the idea of God, right? Like, what is God, and what
Mm,
does it mean? What does it mean to you, right? So for me, like, if there's something that like, I've never seen a fairy, but like, I feel like that's how similar energies that have presented themselves to me present themselves to that person, because that's how they're going to relate to it. That's how it's going to mean something to them. That's how they're going to feel it. That's how they're going to see it. So when someone's expressing to me that that's what they're seeing, I'm not like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'm intrigued, and I'm like, that's cool, and I'm legitimately, authentically happy that that person has made a connection with whatever it is that they've connected with.
absolutely. And there's things that are just outside comprehension, and that comes up with psychic mediumship or these other experiences all the time. And what makes us go, wow, aliens, and right, like anything we can think of. I mean, just like
Mhm,
simple things. Again, I'm just like kind of telling you these stories. I, I feel like everybody can relate to this a little bit. When you know your own soul, you're very particular. Like,
mhm,
so I've loved cats all my life, and I had a moment where I'm like, I'm ready to get a cat again. So
mhm.
I'm gonna get 2 cats,
Nice.
and I'm really looking for this within a cat, even though I was very open-minded. I'm like, I'm looking for girl cats. I'm not looking for boy cats. Like, I know what I want. I know my soul. Just like if you were on a mission, you're like, I know what I want.
Yeah.
And I started doing practice readings around that time, and all the psychics and mediums, they were saying, "I see 2 boy cats. I see 2 boy cats." And I'm just like, "I'm what? I would never do that, okay? I would never do that." And then the 1, or 2 readings I got with, girl cats, they would describe a style of cat where I'm like, "That's great, but I never really thought to look for 2 girl cats like that, right?"
Right,
So I'm like,
right.
"That's why is everyone getting it wrong? Why is it?" But I'm like, "I don't get it." And then lo and behold, when I finally had time, like, I kept looking for all these I couldn't find one that I spiritually solely connect with. These 2 boys came in, I'm just like, "I guess that's it. I really wanted girls. Oh, shucks." And
Mhm,
then they came in, like, 8 months later, and it was exactly how the 2 ones that actually talked about the girls described them,
mhm,
how they looked and everything. I'm just like, "This is." I thought I knew my own pathway. I coulda I They told me what my soul was steadfast in thinking, "This is reality," because I'm creating my
amazing.
reality, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes we're not even creating our own reality,
That's
right?
amazing, yeah.
That's the tricky part.
Listen, you know what? And and it's cool. Like, you like, you get it, right? You're not like, you're all right. I'm not going to be resistant to this. At some point, you got to give in, right? Interesting story with my cat. So we just got a cat, Max, um, who is. Uh, I can't even believe the way that he's integrated himself into our family and our unit, right? But like, I had a cat that, Janice knew, my cat. I must have had my cat for 15, 18 years, long time, who passed probably about 2 years ago.
Aw.
And I knew I was going to eventually get a new cat. Janice knew we were going to get a cat when she moved in. We would get a cat eventually, but we weren't thinking about it even. And over the summer, we were sitting out on the porch. We have coffee on the porch, and this stray cat just kind of wandered up, black, looks exactly like the cat that I have currently. Just wandered up, very friendly, just laid down in front of us, like offered its belly, and was like super friendly, to the point where when we opened the door, ran in our house, um, laid down next to me right here at my computer and sat next to me. And I was just like, this is a sign. Like, this is assigned to get the cat, and we started calling the cat Cosmo because it was just like it just appeared out of nowhere, and it was just literally for a few hours that it hung around, and then we kind of let it out, and it never came back. But within a week, we went to the local rescue place and got Max, and it was just it's just so natural. It's just so like it's just so right. There's such a flow to how it all happened, and it's cool to be aware of that and look at it and just be like, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's like some of these things are just happening, and you wonder if like that was the cat's consciousness saying, "I want a person like this," and it's like, I didn't have anything to do with that. I guess that was already written because
Yep.
they just came and found me.
Yep. There you go.
I
Totally.
like Evelyn's comment, "Cat distribution system is in control, not us."
Yeah. Totally. No, totally. Yeah. It's just amazing. Again, I feel like so super connected to the universe in this moment of my life. And so it's like, you know, I have no complaints.
No complaints.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. The time goes by so fast,
Oh
always here
wow.
on the Psychic
Yeah.
Hour. It does. I always give we'll have you back to talk more about your life.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, now I stopped myself from talking about what I was doing and we didn't even get to talk about it.
We did, you know what we did? I was like, "How did you come into this?" And you told me about your background and how you met the people you did, and really you told me that COVID story of how it really busted open. So we got there. We'll just
Mhm,
get
mhm.
there further. I think we did the check mark still.
Yeah.
Um, I always give guests the last word. What would you like to say? Whether it's a favorite saying from the heart, something that comes to mind.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying. I'm prepared for this next year coming up to really try to my branding and my message is to empower people to create their own reality, to believe in themselves, and to just know that to know what they know already, right? It's like I feel like everybody knows it already. It's just like everybody's in denial, about their own passion, and it's just like just know it, just let it go, just feel it, and and do it, right? Intention, like do it, create your own reality, like just like you do with the show, like I do with my show, right? Like nobody's paying me to show up at a job, right? I'm creating it because it's what I want to be. It's what I want to put out. I'm being intentional with my essence. There you go. That's my catchphrase advice for 2026. It is be intentional with your essence.
Yes,
There you
I
go.
love it. Please be intentional with your essence. Michael is ushering you to be of that sorts with your consciousness. Um, Thank you for this pop-up show. I'm broken on the couch. Perfect timing for you both. I
Nice.
hope you're just relaxing with
I hope
that.
you enjoy. I hope we relaxed you, Jules, and I hope you're just relaxing on the couch.
Yes, but if so, hopefully Michael's words mended your spirit or your bones a little bit.
Yes.
Thank you so much to Jennifer, both Jennifers in the house, Grace, um, all your beautiful comments, and other people are just coming on in. I know people come and go and give love as the show goes on. Please, everybody, know that we have another show coming up at 6, and that's with Michael Christopher and Jennifer Lee. They are mediums, and that is their wheelhouse.
Welcome.
So if you're looking for readings, come by at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 Eastern Standard Time. And we will also see you in a day for messages from the Enchanted Realms too. And that's going to be at a different time at 12:30 just for this week. So thank you so much, Michael,
Thank
for
you.
being here and having a wonderful discussion. I know it kind of fit just naturally who you are. I know you just love to have consciousness discussions. So you very much were you here. It all
Yeah.
worked out.
There you go. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Everybody, please go with love, luck, and light. And don't forget to live. We will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.